So with that, welcome to this evening's Village Board meeting. Tonight is February 3rd. Thank you for joining us. We will begin this public session with the pledge.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Codman,
Present.
Trustee Levin,
Present.
Trustee Bazemore,
Present.
Trustee Gazada,
Present.
Mayor Garrity.
Present.
Are there any mayors and trustees announcements this evening?
Yes, but why don't I let my colleagues begin? Does anybody have any announcements to make? Have any exciting events coming up in the community? I find that difficult to believe. Okay.
Nothing
Great.
we can talk about right this moment.
Okay. maybe during announcements later on. You know what, Manager Zambrano, we actually, I'll just let the public know, we had an unusual beginning to our television broadcast today because we began with a motion at 6:30. We went into public session, and then there was a motion to go into executive session to discuss issues of personnel regarding a specific person. So we're all in a funny place tonight, so we'll just get started with our public meeting, please. Manager Zambrano.
Thank you, Mayor. If we have the deputy clerk is replacing the clerk who's out on personal leave due to a death in the family, so she will be filling in for Marian Roberts.
Happy to have you with us, Amory.
Why, thank you. Village Manager Abraham Zambrano, administrative reports.
Thank you, and again, good evening, Mayor and trustees. I just have a couple of items that I want to bring to your attention. Last week, we had gotten a letter from Senator Carlucci's office requesting that the village provide a wish list of projects to his office so that he can include that in the next legislative budget that will be going on into fiscal year 16-17. I have forwarded that email to all of you as well as the department heads, and we have a number of potential projects that we are going to be submitting to Mr. Carlucci's office for his consideration the new budget year. Among them, there are a few for the recreation center, which we will give you a whole list of them. I mean, but right now what I have is actually we do want to include something for the repairs of the roof. We do want to include something for the cooling and heating system repairs, and we're also going to be including something for the security of at the rec center. In addition to that, actually, we will actually resubmit a similar claim to what we submitted to the CDBG program back in October for the conversion of the operations center to the ADA compliant building. Right now, the building is not ADA compliant, and I think that we would like to see that happen at some point in the future. We will be getting together with the rest of the staff tomorrow, and we will submit again the list of projects. And of course, we'll share that with you as well as we do that. The other thing I wanted just to bring to your attention also is an update on the microgrid project. The next set of documentations is due to NYSERDA on next Thursday, February the 12th. No, my apologies. We are going to be getting the final documents that are going to be submitted to NYSERDA next on the 12th. Once we review it, once we get it, we will run it by you. We'll send it to you for your review, and then they're going to be submitting it to NYSERDA for their consideration on the end of February on 2/26. After that, actually, the next set of steps will be if we are fortunate or if we are lucky enough to go to the next round, which I'm very positive about it. We will then go into the design step phase for some funding, and then the final step will be the actual build out, which will be subsequent after that. But we'll keep you abreast of all the ins and outs of what's going on, and we'll circulate with the papers that are going to be going sort of at the end of February. And that's all I have this evening.
Madam Clerk, may I interject before you move on with the other announcements? Because I just got approval to make one very exciting announcement. Captain Craven, we're very pleased to have you with us. We are always happy to have you with us in our board meetings. There's a particular reason why Captain Craven is here. Chief Kevin Sylvester just became the father to a second child, Lucille Jade. was born today at 4'11", 8 pounds, 7 ounces, 20 and a half inches long. Say welcome to the world, baby girl Sylvester. Thank you. We're very pleased to have this exciting news to share with people, and very pleased for the Sylvester family. And Kevin and Mimi and Henry, all the best as they enjoy their newborn familyhood. Madam Clerk.
Captain Scott Craven.
We skipped Lori Lee, but that's...
Oh, is she next?
No, it's next on the list.
Are you next?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
We are all over the place today. Go ahead, Captain. Sorry about that.
The last minute thing for me, but I will just point out that we have 2 officers currently we hired recently are in the police academy. They're doing well. And we have 2 officers currently going through field training, and we expect them to be manpower by the first week of March.
Excellent.
Thing for us.
It is. Thank you.
Corporation Counsel Lori Lee Dixon.
Thank you. Good evening, Board and Mayor. I am pleased to report that the Community Choice Aggregation Program appears to be back on track. We have completed, we as in the collective aggregate municipalities have completed the final version of the Energy Services Agreement, which will become the contract between the energy services provider and each individual municipality once the RFP process is complete. So it is in final form. The MOUs have been executed as I've been told by Sustainable Westchester. The MOUs from the various municipalities have also been executed. We executed ours here in the village. The ESA, the Energy Services Agreement, is an attachment to that MOU. So many of the municipalities didn't have the flexibility in resolutions to permit the process to continue until that ESA was final. So they're going to RFP. We do expect the return date on that request for proposals from the energy services companies. This is for the electrical service only. We expect the return date on that to be February 22nd. And as I've explained, and as it has been explained to me, those pricing quotes will only be valid for a very short period of time due to the fluctuation on the market of the natural gas. So we'll be turning that around quickly. I've made arrangements with the manager, so we'll be able to execute our ESA immediately once the Sustainable Westchester, as our proxy, has determined the qualifying bidder. So that process should be completed by February 22nd, and then we'll gear up to obtain the information from our Con Edison clients, and we'll proceed to the Community Choice Aggregation Program. The other large item this week, finally off my desk, is the the final legal review of the Indian Brook Reservoir Dam Rehabilitation Project specifications. So that is back in the hands of the consultant. I did point out a number of things we'd like changed. Dave Stone has been working very closely with me, and as always, I'm very grateful to Dave's assistance. And we did find a face-to-face meeting this time to be very beneficial because the spec is very dense. So we've moved that off our collective desks. It's back to the engineering specialists, and we do expect in the next week or so for the timing and on the bidding process to move forward, and as the responses come in, you'll have the opportunity to award the contract based upon the qualifications of the bidders. The final item is I'm attending tomorrow the quarterly meeting of the Corporation Council Roundtable at PACE. It's a very interesting topic. I look forward to bringing it back to you all. It's form-based codes, which in my discussions with our new planner, is an exciting opportunity for us in any number of locations throughout the village. To do a form-based code for the downtown, for example, might be an option for you to consider. So this is the role of council in that process of form-based codes, and I look forward, there's a very qualified speaker coming. So I'm taking my intern as well, so she and I will be attending at 8:30 tomorrow morning. I just want to point out that on your agenda this evening is your call for a public hearing and your necessary referrals and lead agency designation for the zoning code text amendment that we're proposing, which will cover a clarification of definition of clubhouses and community centers. This simply legitimizes activities that are already reasonable and already occurring for the various clubhouses and community centers, that being invited guests and also invited members of the public attend events at those centers. So this clarifies that definition. This starts the process. We'll wait for Planning Board EAC input and also the County Planning Department. So I look forward to moving that forward. I did place this hearing at your first meeting in March. That gives plenty of time for your boards to act and for the Planning Board to respond. So I thank you for the opportunity to assist with that text amendment, and I look forward to working through the next round of processes as they come in. I've been meeting regularly with the planner, and collectively, I think we have some things on the horizon that are pretty exciting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any organizational announcements this evening?
I will invite folks to join us next Thursday, February 11th, at the Boudars Theater in the Ossining Public Library. The February offering from the Ossining Documentary and Discussion Series is Merchants of Doubt, which will be followed by a very exciting panel. We just added one more panelist whose name escapes me, but for more information, please visit ossiningdocumentaries.org. It's a really terrific program that I'm very pleased to have the honor of being a part of. It's a group of volunteers that put together the screenings and panel discussions with the public once a month to discuss issues that matter, and we are always delighted to see more people joining us each month. So again, it's February 11th, Thursday, 6:30 in the Ossining Public Library. Thank you.
Any other organizational announcements? We'll move into village board resolutions. Is there anyone here who wishes to address the board regarding the resolutions? No. So then we'll move into village board resolutions. Letter A, approval of minutes, January 20, 2016, regular meeting. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the minutes of the January 20, 2016 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So move. Second.
On the board, Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter B, approval of voucher detail report. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated February 3rd, 2016 in the amount of $477,547.93. Do I have a motion?
So move.
On the board.
Is there a way that we could move this, the voucher detail report to next week, or?
You have to pay the bill.
Yeah. How does that work?
Well,
If they have not yet been had been reviewed by somebody on the Board of Trustees, what would be? Can we? Okay.
Okay.
So, Madam Clerk, can we modify the resolution so that it says that it is subject to trustee approval? Thank you.
Yep.
Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter C, OFD award of bid refurbish E1 rescue fire apparatus. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby awards the bid of contract number OFD 15-02 refurbish E1 rescue fire apparatus to Nicholas Oxygen Service Incorporated, 1564 Route 9G, Hyde Park, New York 12538 for the bid amount of $296,789. Do I have a motion?
so moved. Second.
On the board? Yes, go ahead.
It's taken a little while to get done, but we finally got the spec completed and reviewed, and this will allow us to refurbish a current vehicle and get it up to snuff and be able to support all the great work that the Ossining Volunteer Fire Department does.
And it looks like it's coming in
Under.
a couple $1,000s less than we had
Yes,
anticipated.
it is under budget. They
Take the $2,200 if we can get it.
did their homework, so that's good.
All right. Madam Clerk?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter D, call for a public hearing for introductory local law number 2, 2016 zoning text amendment, lead agency designation under SECRA, and referrals to PB and EAC. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining is considering adoption of the proposed local law known as Introductory Local Law Number 2, 2016, entitled Zoning Text Amendment, which law would amend Chapter 270 of the Village Code of the Village of Ossining to clarify the definition of clubhouses and community centers found in the civic institutional use group to reflect activity at such clubhouses and centers involving invited guests and members of the public. And whereas pursuant to New York State law, the village board must conduct a public hearing on the proposed local law during which the public shall have the opportunity to be heard. And whereas pursuant to New York State Department Environmental Quality Review Act and corresponding regulations thereto, SECRA, an amendment to Chapter 270 zoning is an unlisted action, and the board has called for the preparation of a short environmental assessment form. And whereas pursuant to Section 270-59 of the Village of Ossining Code, the Board of Trustees acknowledges its obligation to seek a report from the Planning Board in advance of taking action on the introductory law, since it includes a proposed amendment to Section 27-43, building permits. With Chapter 270? Building permits, Chapter 270, building permits, which amendment would, that's it. Whereas pursuant to Chapter 262 of the Village of Ossining Code entitled Waterfront Consistency Review, the Board of Trustees acknowledges its obligation to make a determination of consistency of any unlisted action and with the village's local waterfront revitalization program, and will seek the necessary recommendation of the Ossining Environmental Advisory Council and forward a coastal assessment form. Now therefore be it resolved that pursuant to SECRA, the Village of Ossining Board of Trustees hereby assumes the role of lead agency on the action, and be it further resolved that in accordance with Section 270-59 of the Village Code, the Board of Trustees hereby refers to the Planning Board for a report, and be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees, in accordance with Chapter 262 of the Village Code, hereby refers local law Number 2, 2016, to the Environmental Advisory Council for recommendation regarding local waterfront consistency, and be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossining hereby calls for a public hearing on introductory local law Number 2, 2016, entitled Zoning Text Amendment, on March 2nd, 2016, at the Birdsall-Fagan Police Court Facility, 8688 Spring Street, Ossining, New York, at 7:30 p.m., or as soon thereafter as such matter may be heard, during which the public shall have the opportunity to offer comments on such local law, and be it further resolved that said introductory local law shall be available for public review in hard copy at the village clerk's office and the village department of planning in advance of the public hearing until close of business on March 2nd, 2016, and in electronic format on the Village of Ossining website at www.villageofossining.org. And be it lastly resolved that the village board directs all requisite notices to be published and or distributed in accordance with applicable law. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
On the board. Yes, I'll just provide a little context with this. I'm very pleased to see this moving forward so swiftly, and thank you to Corporation Counsel for helping to figure out a way for us to make a slight modification to the language in our zoning amendment that will allow for greater opportunities for some nonprofit organizations and fraternal organizations to be able to host more exciting events and places for folks in our community to gather and have more great reasons to spend time socializing and Ossining. So thank you for moving this forward, and it's interesting to see what the legal process is. I'm not sure how. I don't think this is really what they originally had in mind when they established the secret process, but we'll let's just keep marching through all of the steps. Thank you for moving it forward. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter E, tax certiorari refund payment, 145 North Highland Avenue. Whereas the Village of Ossing ceased being a tax assessing unit in 1989 and now adopts the Town of Ossing assessment roll as prepared by the assessor of the Town of Ossing for all subsequent years. And whereas a tax certiorari proceeding was instituted against the Town of Ossing by Executive Property Group, LLC, petitioner having the index numbers 67051-13 and 67431-14, and said proceedings concerning were recently concluded in the Westchester County Supreme Court, resulting in a judgment entered in favor of the petitioner, which among other things directs the Village of Ossing to audit and pay to the petitioner the amount of the overpayment of real estate taxes determined in accordance with the assessments fixed and determined by said judgment, as detailed in Schedule A. And whereas the accordance with the statutory mandates, any and all refunds of taxes necessitated by said judgments are to be made without interest if paid within 60 days after service upon the village of a certified copy of said judgment, or as may be set forth by court order. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossing, upon certification of the village treasurer that all of the aforesaid taxes have been paid, hereby authorizes and directs the village treasurer to make the payments of refunds of real property taxes due to Watkins and Watkins LLP as attorneys for petitioners, and it is further resolved that the village treasurer shall make a notation in the margin of the assessment roll of the Village of Ossing that said assessment was reduced and payment of a refund of the overpayment of real property taxes was made pursuant to said judgment. Schedule A indicates total refund amount of $8,737.72. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
On the board. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there any continuing business of the board?
There is, as I'll make a brief statement because we discussed last week. There is a group in our community that is looking to set up a pilot for a temporary homeless shelter, and they had initially made a request to have access to showers at the recreation center, and they have since withdrawn their request and found another way that they're going to provide their service. So we don't have anything further to consider on that, but since we discussed it last week and said that we would revisit it, I wanted folks to know that there is further exploration done this week, and it's no longer a question for us to answer. That's it for continuing business, I believe. Madam Clerk?
New business of the board?
We do. So I'll just, I emailed the board today. We like to have all of our items that we're going to discuss on the agenda as much as possible, but this was something that we're going to discuss a piece of property that the village owns that I'll let legal counsel and management and perhaps the village engineer may want to weigh in and tell us more about the specific property, but this is the first time we've had a public discussion about it. We have sought the advice of counsel in the past on how best to look at it, but it is a property at 74 Hunter Street. It's a village-owned property that is has an easement over the entire lot. It's in a residential neighborhood right between two other properties with homes on it. So it's not a buildable lot because we need to be able to maintain access for, I believe it's a drain that goes underneath the entire length of the property, diagonally across the property. There's as long as we are able to maintain access to the utility, there's not a lot of value to the village owning it, but it may be more valuable to somebody in the community who wants to use it for some purpose other than to build a structure on it, perhaps play or to garden or to park, but in some way that we could still have access if necessary. So the first step in considering that option would be for the village board to declare it a surplus, which is what is before us tonight to consider. Manager Zambrano, do you want to speak to it before we turn it over to Corporation Counsel?
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, I don't want to reiterate what you mentioned, but I think one of the things that the board will need to consider is because we do have this particular piece of property that it's sitting there idle, and also it's best to get it off, get it back on the tax roll. So I think it's a recommendation of the staff for the board to consider declaring it surplus, which is what we're going to be asking of you. So this way we can go again, have it appraised, and then dispose of it accordingly. I think we have earlier today, actually, and I apologize, we meant to send these documents to you sooner, but we did not have a copy of the survey until late yesterday evening, so we were not able to send it sooner. But, we have given you some of the, and a copy of the survey, and Corporation Council will go further into it. We have given you also a copy of the where exactly it's situated, and also on the copy of the assessor's card for the property.
Yep, I can just add a few comments. You'll note on the assessor's card, this is from the GIS service online. It's 0.06 acres. It's a very small lot. It's, as you said, inconveniently located between two other residential properties. It's on Hunter Street. It's really of little value. We did, with the assistance of village engineer, retain the services of Merritt's Land Surveyors, PC, and they have produced a survey upon which could be based a deed description should it go forward to being declared surplus, and it could easily be sold or in exchange for the fair market value of some dollar amount, and it can be appropriately conveyed in accordance with state statute. You have the authority to do that, but you must first then discuss its inclusion on your surplus list. So that's what we were hoping you would take up tonight, is a general discussion of whether you wanted to add it to surplus.
So, with that, we open up to discussion. Any questions, comments, discussion by the board members?
I have no objection to putting this into surplus.
I'm going to agree with that. I think we have internally had a conversation in regards to that particular property. One thing that I guess I will ask at some point after this decision is made, that we can reach out to the neighbors in regards to this property before we actually, when we make this officially public, but we give them the opportunity for them to see if they can utilize this property for their benefit in that regards. So that will be my only suggestion on that.
Any
No
questions? All right. So then, Corporation Council, in anticipation that we may, if we wanted to move forward with this, you did draw up a resolution for us to have the opportunity to vote on tonight, if the sense of the board is that we'd like to make a motion to pass. Yeah, I guess
I've
we need
actually
a clerk to
provided
read
a copy
Excellent.
to the clerk, so she
Thank
can
you.
read it into the record if you so desire.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Carry on.
Declaration of village-owned real property as surplus. Whereas the village acquired on behalf of the residents of the Village of Ossing fee title to certain real property consisting of .06 acres located on Hunter Street, having the tax identification number of 97.07-1-57 property by deed recorded on Liber 7897, page 598, and whereas the furtherance of the public interest and with the authority of the New York State Village Law Section 1-102, the village has determined that said property is not needed for public purposes and wishes to investigate conveying the property subject to that certain drainage easement benefiting the village recorded at Liber 3280, page 123. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Ossing hereby declares said property as surplus and authorizes its conveyance in accordance with New York State law. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
On the board. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No more new business? We're good?
We're good on new business? Excellent. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Visitor recognition. Is there anyone here who wishes to address the board?
Yes, please join us.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Stephanie Tim Austin. I live at 58 Ellis Place.
Welcome.
I've been a resident of Ossining for over nearly 25 years. And I don't know if I could share this with the Basically, I also want to mention that about 10 years ago, I worked as a court clerk part-time for the town of Ossining. I am now a court clerk for the village of Pleasantville. And the reason why I mention that is just to make it known that I'm not speaking from authority, but just as someone who is knowledgeable about what I just want to bring to your attention. A village resident who I don't want to merely mention, but she has been publicly going about saying that she has been asked by the police chief to review parking tickets that he wants to update or renew. Okay, that being said, I just feel that this is something that's legislative and that the board should have the oversight to overlook any changes with the tickets. What I don't want to really go into too much detail publicly is that I feel that there is a serious problem with the parking tickets as they are now, which may make the village liable for some other fees. So I just want the village board to take a look into the matter, examine the tickets, and to get involved with the law enforcement about any changes with the tickets, also to include the court, because they're responsible for adjudicating any parking tickets. Because my concern is that if you go through the packet, excuse me for giving you all the material, but the reason why I shared with you all that the laws and the various material, just so you see that with the parking can get a little complex. And it shouldn't be up to, someone just, I want to come up with a new parking ticket and show it to a lay person.
I want to caution that we have a 3-minute time limit, so thank you for leaving us with the material, but I want you to have an opportunity to make sure you get all of your core point in.
But that's really the core point, is that my concern that as the tickets as they're written, without going into too much detail publicly, that there should be examined and that council should have a chance to look at it and review the law, because I think the tickets as they stand now with the surcharges may pose a problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that the drafting of the form of the ticket has been the subject of much discussion over the past year, including the advice of Corporation Counsel in that process. And I will follow up with her and see if she has more thoughts that she'd like to convey and in response to your comments. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board? Can I adjourn into motion? Can I have a motion to adjourn into executive session for personnel on a specific individual,
As well as to seek advice of counsel.
as well as to seek advice of counsel?
So
Do I have
moved.
a motion?
Second.
On the board. Madam Clerk.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And with that, I thank you very much for joining us for this evening's really quite brief Village Board, at least the public session. We started at 6:30 and we're going to an executive session, so who knows how late we'll be here, but we thank you for joining us for the public meeting, and we hope that you will join us next week for the work session. We'll be back at 16 Croton Avenue on February 10th at 7:30, as always. Have a good evening.